cloud. There we go. Recording on the cloud. Now we're going to go ahead and begin. And I'm going to try the live thing again. And we're not doing it live. Awesome. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop the video. And where's the share screen? Share screen. And here we go, ladies. All right, welcome to the Witch Hat Chats, presented by the ever-moving We Rise Temple, the Laughing Holistic Center, and Moonlight Potions and Charms. We are the Witchy Ones. I am your host, Nikki Kirby, and Pam Griffith is our co-host. So we got a few announcements for the show. The first one is that the ever-moving We Rise Temple will have their Mabon ritual next Saturday. So that will be Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for the month of October, we're going to have the Witch Hat Chats. We'll be having a silent auction. And these are going to be things that are going to be donated from Pam and myself. So Pam, how do you feel about that?
You know what? It's pretty cool that we are actually able to do this. I think that the stuff that we're auctioning off is really awesome stuff, and I think people are going to be excited, and they're actually going to be able to buy some of our show memorabilia, which we've never ever offered or even thought about offering before, and I've had people excited about that. So I think it's going to be a pretty awesome auction.
Yes, these are going to be like items that Pam and I personally selected. So I'm going to go ahead and share the video right now. So let's go ahead and do that and show everybody. Well, let me turn off the, there we go. We'll turn that off. Kill that. Okay, now. All right. So that was really awesome.
Can't wait.
Me either. And I know Chad Blackwell, he's going to want that hat because he's so jealous on Friday nights that he doesn't have a hat.
I know he is really consumed with our hats.
Yes, he is. He's very consumed with our hats. So, Chad, there's you an opportunity to get one of our hats. Awesome. So now we have a guest that I'm really excited about. Our guest host is an international blues artist and root worker who comes across hoodoo while researching blues lyrics from the 1920s and 30s. Her interests lie in success and prosperity work, but she is also gifted in divination and the matters of the heart and has become known for her much sought after Appalachian voodoo dolls. So she keeps the magical tradition alive by writing songs about modern day root workers and taking on clients of her own who's not on the road while she's not on the road. So I am proud to introduce my friend, Miss Heidi Holton. Yay!
Here.
Hey. How's Heidi?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We're awesome.
I'm so excited to be on this show today. This is amazing.
It is, isn't it? You know, the thing about it is, okay, so how did you get into doing blues?
Like, I just love the music. My dad, when I was growing up, my dad had a pretty extensive record collection. He listened to vinyl and played a lot of these records for me and my sister when we were growing up. And the ones that I always gravitated towards were the ones that were blues based. So even like the 60s sort of rock and roll stuff, I always gravitated towards things like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, things that were rooted in that like Delta sound. And it's just stuck with me ever since.
Oh, awesome. So who's the one who's been the most influential?
Like which blues artist?
Yeah, or any artist. It doesn't matter what inspires you.
Gosh, well, I guess I have two subsets of things that really inspire me. First and foremost are the old blues players, like Lightnin' Hopkins, Mississippi John Hurt, Reverend Gary Davis, Robert Johnson, you know, the stuff going way back and digging deep. And then there's sort of like a second set of musicians that really inspired me. And those are people who back in the 60s and 70s were digging deep into this older music and sort of bringing it to a rock and roll stage. So people like Hot Tuna, Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton. That is sort of my second subset of influences.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's my era. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I saw on here where now this is going back a ways, and I love it because they go under a different name now. But I saw that you studied with Dorma from Jefferson Airplane. Okay. That's when I remember Grace Slick in the group when they were the Airplane. So yeah, I was just curious, how did that actually come to happen?
Well, you know, it's really interesting, and I've idolized Yorma since I was a little girl. I used to listen to the Jefferson Airplane and Hot Tuna. I mean, there's a picture of me wearing diapers, holding one of his records, you know, of my dad's collection. And it turns out that he gives guitar lessons. He has a workshop at his ranch like a few times a year. It's called the Fur Piece Ranch. And you can sign up and you can go take a weekend long class with him. And it is absolutely amazing and inspiring. So I started going up to take workshops with him about 10 years ago. And it was an absolute dream come true because the first guitar that I ever bought, the reason that I bought that guitar was because I wanted to play Embryonic Journey. Which is one of his acoustic songs that I thought was very beautiful. So yeah, it was really a time of coming full circle, getting an opportunity to study with him.
Okay. That was pretty cool. I was just curious because when I saw Jefferson Airplane, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Blast from the past.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see how you play the guitar. I never mastered that. But it's called finger picker and slide guitar. Now, to those in our audience who have no idea what I just said in English, could you like give us a little show about what it is that you do with the guitar?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to show you with the actual guitar? I mean, I can show you what finger picks I use so I don't have to move the camera. So I finger pick. I play with these. I play with a thumb pick. It's just a little plastic thumb pick. And then I have 2 metal finger picks that I put on my fingers. And instead of just strumming, I try to play individual notes. I kind of like, you can kind of think of it like the hands on a piano. You want your thumb to be playing your bass notes and your fingers to be playing the treble notes. And it gives you sort of like, it gives you an opportunity to make more sound. When you're a solo artist, it's particularly delightful because when you don't have accompaniment, sometimes it can get boring just to keep strumming. So yeah, finger picking is great. And then slide guitar, I use this amazing slide made by Furious Slides in Arizona. And you just, run it over the strings and it makes a gorgeous, haunting Delta blues sound.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into hoodoo?
Again, it's all back to the blues. When I was starting to listen to a lot of the older blues artists, Memphis Minnie in particular, I was hearing a lot of terms in the songs that I wasn't familiar with, and a lot of activities that the people in these songs did, like going to the crossroads. Like, why would you do that? Like, I wondered, because I didn't grow up in the Delta. I didn't really grow up in a magical household. So I wanted to know, like, why would you carry around a black cat bone? That's kind of odd, but I wanted to know. So I started researching the lyrics, and I found out about this lady. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Catherine Ironwood. She is not only an amazing hoodoo practitioner and psychic, but she's also a blues lyricist, historian. So she documents all of the blues lyrics that have to do with the magical tradition. And that is how I got into it. I found out about this woman out in California. I signed up for her correspondence course, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually where you and me met, and you're what, about 2 hours from where I live?
Yeah.
So you're another person that I had to meet in California who was from my home state.
Yes. Yeah. But it's funny because when I originally signed up for that class just to kind of find out some research stuff about blues and the lyrics I was singing and the things that I was wanting to start writing about. But I'm definitely a person who learns by doing. I don't just learn by reading books or by, being told things. I have to learn from experience. So once I started, reading these lessons, I started putting the things into practice. I'm like, gee, I wonder if spiritually cleaning my house will actually have an effect. And it did. It did. So I was, from day one, I was absolutely sold on these practices.
Yeah, I mean, I remember us making war water.
Yeah.
Skunk, remember the skunk?
Yeah.
One of the elements, you have to have skunk in there. What was it? Skunk? Something about some type of skunk, like cactus or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, with Heidi, nobody else wanted to touch it. But Heidi's like, oh hell, we do this all the time. We're Appalachian. I mean, come on. And she just picks it up and she doesn't vomit. There were people over there that were going, and we had, just such an amazing time, doing that.
Yeah, so much fun. I'm not afraid of the darker work. I think, I don't know how deep you guys want to get into the philosophy of these things, but I think, in the world, there's darkness and light, and there is good and evil, and, you really can't have one without the other. So I'm equally fascinated by things like war water as I am by things like blessing, money, house blessing. I think they're both valuable. I think they both have their place. So for me, it's like somebody wants to teach me how to make war water. Absolutely. You never know when you might need it.
That's true. So how much has hoodoo influenced your work?
In terms of my job, what I do for a living, playing music.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely influenced it. I think that I think that practicing hoodoo has given me a sense of control over my life. I think before I started practicing magic, I sort of just blundered through life. I felt like, you know, things happen to me, I react to them, and it doesn't really matter because this is just how it is. But I think practicing magic has taught me that we do have a lot more control over our lives than I used to think possible. That being said, it has made me explore myself as a person. Like, it's made me think a lot about why I react the way that I do, why I behave the way that I do. How can I modify my behavior so that the spells that I do are more effective, if that makes sense. So I'm much more introspective now than I was before I started practicing magic.
That's really awesome. You said it does influence your writing. Do you write alone or do you collaborate with anybody else?
I mostly write alone, not necessarily because I don't enjoy collaborating with others, but because I'm a solo artist right now. Well, I mean, everything's on hold right now, but up until the pandemic, I was mainly a solo artist. So I didn't have a lot of opportunity for collaboration and co-writing, but that's one of the things that I want to change when this, you know, when everything settles down and you know, we can all go back out in public and do things together. I'm realizing I've been taking a music theory class and some songwriting classes online, making the most of my time. And I'm realizing how important it is as a musician to have other people around you for support and collaboration. I think, you know, 2 minds are better than 1, 3 minds, maybe that's even better. I don't know. So I'm interested in exploring the idea of co-writing and performing with others once this pandemic is over.
That's pretty awesome. A lot of writers who write music say that when inspiration hits, they just drop everything and start writing. What is your style? Do you think about something first, or is it whatever hits you at the moment?
I force myself to write every day because I'm a procrastinator. And I can get into the habit of having writer's block, which now that I'm writing every day, I don't believe in. But I'll spend a year not writing anything, or I did before. And then you're like, well, now I need to get inspired. It is really hard to get that muse to strike on command. So I think if you get in the habit of meeting it halfway every day, I set a timer and I write for 20 minutes every day. Whether I get something good out of it or not, you know, who knows? And then I do longer week-long like writing workshops for myself where I force myself to write a song a day. And the more I get in the habit of doing that, the more inspiration strikes. So I think half of that inspiration is just showing up and allowing it to happen.
Sorry, forgot about the muting.
I was wondering where the sound went.
All the time. Okay, so I mean, I do agree with the musing, because the thing about it is even hard for me. Like, I had a lecture that I had to write, and it's something that I talk about all the time. But when I sat down, it's like my mind just went absolutely blank.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know exactly where to start. And so it took me several days. I actually had to cast a spell.
Oh my God.
To be able to be inspired. That's how bad, you know, my writer's block was, you know. So so tell us about your Appalachian voodoo dolls. I'm curious about those.
I will tell you, and I wish that I would have brought one to show you guys. I wasn't sure the format of this podcast. I didn't realize we got to be on camera as well. But I make Appalachian hoodoo dolls. I make them out of branches that I find in the woods on my mountain. And then I have a big pile of Spanish moss that I collected. I get it every time I go to Florida. I grew up in St. Augustine, and I vacation on the west coast of Florida. And it has the big live oaks and these beautiful, like, trees that are draped with Spanish moss. So every time I go, I get a big bag of it and I bring it home, and that is what I stuff my dolls with. And then I wrap them with muslin, and I sew little faces on them and wrap them in twine, and they're really adorable. And you can use them for, you know, pretty much once you baptize them in the name of the person you're working on, you can use them for good, evil, love, you know, cursing, prosperity, whatever you want. But here's the thing, I make their faces really cute. And the reason is, like, they're adorable. I'll send you a picture. They're adorable. And the reason is that I want people to think twice before they use a spell for evil. I want them to see individuals as God's children and, you know, beautiful, like beings, you know. I want them to see their enemy's humanity. And if they can look at my adorable little voodoo doll and still be like, you know, screw this person, I hate them and I want them to die, fine, you know, that's their business. But I want them to, like, sort of see that the humanity in the person they're wanting to curse, if they choose to do that kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, it's very important to think about your intention, because there's consequences.
There is, yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like I tell everybody, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Yes.
You don't want it. Pam knows that. Pam understands that concept, don't you, Pam? Yeah.
Oh, never, never. That's the old Italian curse, you know, be careful what you wish for. And it's true, because you don't understand all the consequences behind your actions till you really screw up. And then it's amazing, the consequences. The domino effect is real out there, guys. And karma really does work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes several lifetimes, you know, to catch up with you. And sometimes it's pretty instant. But, you know, I think that like, whatever we do, you know, whatever the outcome is, our intentions go into it. And sometimes it's justified. Sometimes negative outcomes are justified.
True. So tell us how this COVID virus has affected you and your work.
Oh my gosh. So for me, when COVID hit, I guess I was kind of in denial. About this time last year, I had read The Plague by Albert Camus. And I was like, gosh, you know, it's really a shame that, you know, we live in the time that we live in. Nothing like this could ever happen to us. It's one of those be careful what you wish for kind of things. And so now I kind of feel like I'm living in a Camus novel, experiencing this like complete life change. And what it has done to me, obviously I can't tour, you know, so I'm at home, and it's sort of given me a big lesson in letting go, learning what I have control over and what I don't have control over, and looking within myself to see what I can do to make best of a not so great situation. So in terms of my spiritual practice, for the first few months of the pandemic, I didn't do any magic. I didn't even think about it, because it's like, what can I do? Like, what effect can I have on some global issue, you know? I didn't play any music either. I basically just, you know, I was like a zombie, you know, going through the motions, trying to get through my day, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then I started forcing myself to get up. I had listened to a podcast. It was actually the Lucky Mojo radio show, and they were talking about how you have to get up and do things. How, you know, the pandemic had caused people to lay around day drinking, being in their pajamas all day. And I was just like, oh my gosh, guilty as charged. So what I did was, the very next day I got up, I showered, I put on fresh clothes, and I lit some candles. I cleaned my altar. I have decluttered my house. I've gotten rid of things that I no longer need, that no longer serve me. And I've started a practice of doing cleansing baths, constantly cleaning my house. And it's, you know, it's empowering me. It's making me feel like this is a fresh start. And in terms of that carrying over into music, I'm just kind of doing as much prosperity work as possible, practicing as much patience as I can, and trying to look on the bright side.
That's kind of where we're all at with this wonderful thing. I understand your mom got it. Can you give us a little clue into that?
Yes, she got COVID, and it was really scary. My mom's a very healthy person. Like, she has a great diet, she exercises. She's very young for someone who's in her mid 60s, but she got COVID despite all the precautions that she took, wearing masks, washing her hands, limiting her time out. But she was very ill for about 3 weeks, and it was scary. It was really scary. Miraculously, I didn't catch it from her. And I was taking care of her. I was wiping the sweat from her brow. I was, cleaning up and bringing her food. And I was just like, well, if we go down, we're going to go down together, because you can't leave someone, who's suffering like that just to wallow in it themselves when you're in the same household. So I was right up there in her face the whole time. And miraculously, I didn't get it. So she's fully recovered. She's doing really, really well. She had fatigue for a long time. It took her about a month before she was back to her energetic self. But, she's going for walks now and has her appetite back, and she's holding her own. So.
That's really great that she's able, to recover like that and everything. Because I know you were really worried for a while there.
Yeah, definitely.
So are you coming out with like a new album, or have you been working on enough to come out with a new album?
Yes, I was getting ready to release an album before the pandemic hit. So I have a whole album that's done and ready to go. And I'm just kind of waiting on the right opportunity to release it. I've considered releasing it now, but I feel like if I'm not out there touring, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm just kind of laying low, waiting for the right opportunity. I've had, I get readings from trusted root workers and magicians as well. And I went to an amazing reader who did a bibliomancy reading for me. And they gave me sort of like a time frame for when I should start thinking about the release. And they gave me some ideas how to make it successful. So yeah, I'm holding off on releasing it until I can tour. And in the meantime, I've been writing a lot. I don't have any material ready to record, but I do have a bunch of raw material. So as soon as, I don't know, as soon as I can go in a studio, I might go in there and demo some songs.
For those of our audience who don't understand what bibliomancy is, can you explain that?
Yes, I mean, I can't do a great job. If you really want to explore this subject, check out Dr. Jeremy Weiss. He's amazing with bibliomancy, and he does this thing where he draws these coin-like things out of a pouch, and it gives you a prophetess to look up and a Bible verse to look up. And, you ask your question and he finds a Bible verse based on that question. Some people do it where they just open the Bible and, they scroll their finger and they point to a verse. But, I find it's what I like about bibliomancy is it makes you think. It's not just a yes or no answer. It's here's my question. Here's a piece of beautiful poetry, scripture, or whatever that corresponds to what the answer should be. Now think about how it applies to you. So I think it's a really good way to tap into your subconscious, tap into the things that you already know about the situation, and sort of figure things out for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be offering a class on that at the virtual Hoodoo Heritage Festival that's in October.
Nice.
Yeah. And there's books, that's written about that as well. For me, I don't do that, but, I've seen it done. And I know, well, the way that they did it was basically they took the book and then they closed their eyes and just opened it up and it went to whatever page.
Yeah.
And they just closed their eyes again and push, selected the verse, just whatever, and answered it. And I kind of thought that was kind of a little bit neat.
It is neat. Yeah, it's really neat. And I don't practice it either. That's why I love getting readings from other people. Because I read tarot, And I'm sort of an amateur tea leaf reader. It's something that's one of my goals. I want to get better at reading tea leaves. I do it for myself, but not for very many other people. But I don't do bibliomancy. So when I get a reading from someone else, it's always fun to go to somebody who has a form of divination that I can't personally do myself. I always learn something. It always inspires me, you know, to get better at my own craft. But yeah, bibliomancy is cool.
Yeah, it is. And as far as the tea leaves thing, there's a book that Catherine Ironwood is going to come out with.
I'm so excited for this book. This is okay. So every year I try to have like a New Year's resolution, like some kind of spiritual practice. And my New Year's resolution for 2021, once I get this book, is going to be to get proficient enough at reading tea leaves to where I can actually do it for people who aren't just like friends and, you know, family and like, you know, long-term clients. Like I want to be able to do it as a thing that I'm good at. So super excited about that book.
Yeah, and she had a lot of nice teacups too. Remember those?
Yes, I love going online to the Mystic Tea Room and looking at the teacups that she has because they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. I just read out of like, it's like a buffalo ware teacup and it's nothing fancy, you know, but some of these teacups are elaborate and beautiful and expensive and delicate, and I love that. Of course, I've seen people read tea leaves out of a paper cup before, and it was just as effective. So,
yeah, it's
I like pretty things.
You know, I remember that scene in Harry Potter and which one? It was the third book, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, when they went to the tea room, you know, in divination, and they swapped teacups. And Ron Weasley, he picks up the teacup to read for Harry, and he's like, "Well, this looks like the sun, and then this looks like, you know, I forgot what else it was." But he's like, "You're gonna die, but you're gonna be happy about dying."
That is so funny.
That was a great one, yeah. And then when she gets a hold of the cup and like passes, it's gonna happen. Yeah, I've never mastered that. I'm not really a tea drinker to begin with, and the thought of anything floating in my coffee is like, oh no, we don't do that. So I have an issue with tea leaves floating in my cup. Like, am I supposed to drink that, or what exactly do I do with that? Now I do make magical teas and herb tea and stuff like that, but for reading, I'm going to be worse than Ron Weasley. I'll just let you know that.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome, though. I would love to learn something different because you don't see that a lot here in the United States. That's not a U.S. thing. That's more of a European.
Yeah, and you know, I seek out things like that. I try to find tea leaf readers wherever I go because I'm interested in it. And when I was in Scotland, I went to a place outside of Edinburgh and had my tea leaves read. And then I had them read, there's a place called Bottom of the Cup in New Orleans, and I had my leaves read there as well. And it's so cool, so much fun.
Yeah, New Orleans kind of is not really in our country. It's kind of like in its own little dimension. So you can get things there that you will never get or see anywhere else in the world. So that's kind of a special place for that stuff. But I do know here in the States, as they say it, we never really did a lot with that. There's not a lot of pagans who do tea leaves anymore here.
Yeah. Well, even when I was in the UK, I had asked a few people about it. And in Scotland, they were like, you know, good luck finding somebody who does it out in the open and like admits that they do it, because witchcraft was against the law in the UK up until like the 50s. I mean, it's like way less than you would think, you know, like I wouldn't have thought that it would be banned in the 50s. But in Scotland, a lot of people who practice occult magic, who are pagan, they do it under the table. They don't broadcast the fact that they do it.
Yeah, it was 1953 when they repealed that law. Gerald Gardner was the driving force behind that. Here in the States, there are still states where you cannot read tarot legally.
Oh,
And
I hope North Carolina isn't one, because I do it all the time.
I got caught in
I-
Baltimore. I got held up in Maryland with that law, and I did not know. The state does not have the law, but the
Yeah.
counties do.
Okay. Okay. Wow. See, I came of age in New Orleans. Like I lived there for like right after Katrina up until like 2012. And like every good girl who was raised Catholic, whenever I had a question, I'd go down to Jackson Square and I'd get my tarot read. And it's just what, you know, everybody did. So I didn't even think, oh my gosh, I can't tell people that I read tarot. Because like here in Western North Carolina, like I probably should not say that I'm a witch as much as I do, but you know, I don't even think about it because I was so used to seeing it when I became an adult, just out in the open. So it's interesting to me, the places where it's not legal or where it has not been legal for very long. It surprises me.
It's surprising where in Maryland, because they're more of a progressive state. I know the Baltimore, D.C. area where I lived for about 50 years was huge in paganism. We would have gatherings of 100 pagans. That was not uncommon at one time. Yeah. If you were doing something at your house, be prepared for 20 to 30 people. So it's big up there, but there are counties in Maryland that actually forbid the practice. You can do it, but you can't take cash. You can do it as an entertainment. They don't, you know, it's like we actually were doing a Barnes and Noble and for Halloween. They had contacted me and I said, yeah, I can get a group of readers up there. So, you know, we were going to go up there. They're going to sell their tarot decks and we're all going to be happy because we're going to go home with money. And somebody, because they put up flyers, somebody called the sheriff's department and the sheriff met us at the front door.
Oh my gosh.
And
That's so
like, you can read all you want, but you can't collect that cash. And I've already promised these girls, you know, I brought like 6 readers with me. So they're expecting money for their work, which we had a show about that.
right.
Get payment for your work. Sorry, that's my soapbox. I have an issue. And surprisingly,
you can go back and you can actually look at that show again, just to make sure that, you know, Pam said what she said, because she did.
Yeah.
I found out that there were lots of places that I did not know. Now, I didn't come out of the closet. I've been on the path for over 50 years, but I didn't come out till I was older because
Out of the broom closet?
Oh yeah, I came out of the broom closet. Not by my own doing. When you end up on the front page of the local newspaper, you're out of the broom closet.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So, but you know, it never occurred to me that it's like, this is America. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first thing I tell anybody. Check your local laws, not your state laws, but check your county law.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. But now I have a hysterical story. I was going from where I live down to Sarasota, and I was at the toll, and I didn't have my son pass, so I had to stop and give money. And so I was like really growling about that. And I handed my money out. Now, I do have a cauldron with the triple goddess as a tattoo. So I hand the guy my money, and I'm talking to my coworker in the car, and he's like, "Oh, you're a witch." And I said, "Thank you for noticing." And he's like, "Blessed be." It's like, oh, here I am in the South, you know, and this guy is like out of nowhere. It was hysterical because my coworker is like, "Oh my God," you know.
Yeah.
So we are thankfully coming out of the broom closet a little bit better than before. But yeah, you have to be careful. And that was a question I had about your music. Stevie Nicks made a statement. She used to wear all black, and she was afraid that people were going to label her a witch. Now, we know in her heart she is. We're not going to deny that.
Right.
But do you feel your music kind of puts you out there?
You know, I try not to think about it too much, honestly. I spent a large portion of my childhood being very concerned with what other people thought about me. And as an adult, the older I get, the less I care. And it's like, if people don't want to listen to my music because I'm saying something that they don't want to hear, that's okay. Like, there's 50,000 other artists that they can listen to, you know? So I feel like there's room on the planet for everyone. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And, you know, there are people who aren't my cup of tea. So I tend to just do what I do. And I don't think, like, of course I want to have fans and, you know, I want everyone, please love me, you know, but not everybody is going to love you. So I try to be as authentic as I can. And I think that in doing that, I've sort of carved out a little niche market for myself where the people who are my fans do love me and they love what I do. They love the fact that I blend spirituality with my music. And the people who don't like that, you know, to be honest, they probably wouldn't like acoustic blues anyways. So.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Now that we've talked about your music, it's time for the song of the week. So each week, Nikki selects a song from a pagan musician or band. We display their music video and give you a song. We're trying to, you know, help these guys along. So while you're listening to all this wonderful music and we have all these great artists on, we do ask you to go to the artist homepage. We make sure that we put it in our information and you can purchase their music. You can go to their concerts when they start back again, but this is a way of giving back to you guys and thanking you for all the great work that you do. So we're going to listen to a song by our guest host. It's Piety Street by Heidi Holden. Go ahead, Nikki, all yours.
Crossed conditions on Piety Street. I feed you honey from the jar. I light pink candles to keep you sweet, but that's not the way you are. You're a blighted building with a clawfoot bath and a wicked evil Jew. I hear glass shatter underneath your lap. I don't want to live with you. For 15 years, I've dreamed in red of Sheet Street with Carolina clay. Knee deep in the cold creek, bed my home, far away. I've searched desert islands and abandoned ships since I was 17. I kissed them hard on downturned lips and tasted gasoline. I burned your city, churning through the ash for exceptions to the rule. I pulled the pretty from your piles of trash, treated crusted bread like jewels. For 15 years, I've dreamed in red Sheet Street with Carolina clay. Knee deep in the cold creek, bed my home, far away. I took my troubles downtown and I left them with the law. Drove through Mississippi with the pedal to the floor. I'm worth 500 miles and I don't need forgiveness anymore. Dragging my shadow down Piety Street, I am wilted by the sun. Like angel trumpets that were just as sweet as ice cream melting on your tongue. For 15 years, I've dreamed in red of Sheet Street with Carolina clay. Knee deep in the cold creek, bed my home, far away.
Greetings, I'm Lady Nikki Kirby. You may recognize my voice from Witch Hat Chats. It is a privilege to be participating in the Halloween Psychic Fair. Do dragons fascinate and amaze you? Are you curious about what wisdom they may have for you? Would you like to get to know the dragons better and see how they influence and change your life? I am teaching a workshop called The Mysteries of the Dragon Tarot and Oracle. I talk about their history, magic, and their role in the Tarot and Oracle, and so much more. So to register, please visit www.halloweensocialfair.com. I look forward to meeting you and have an amazing All right. All right. We are back. Yay. So welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. And Pam and I are with Miss Heidi Holton today. Yay. And Heidi, what are you going to be playing for us, honey?
I'm gonna play an original song for you guys that I wrote, and then I'm also gonna play an old bluesy Blind Willie McTell song for you.
Awesome. Take it away, honey.
All right. This song is called I Am a Snake. Such dirty chaos and digging in the garden, screaming mosquitoes, helicopter in my face. It clears his throat. I beg your pardon. Looks like you could use a break. Green all around,
So, what is the story behind that one?
Well, okay, so when I was little, growing up here in Western North Carolina, my dad used to go to work every day, and my mom stayed home and she raised me and my sister. And when we were at school, there was a guy who lived in our neighborhood, and he used to, you know, go around to all the different houses whose husbands were at work, and he'd try to have affairs with the women. And my mom, bless her heart, Miss COVID-19 survivor, she is the sweetest, most innocent woman in the world. She always looks on the bright side. She never has a negative thing to say about anyone. She's just like an amazing person. She had no idea that this man was coming around to her house to flirt with her and to like try to seduce her. So, you know, eventually one of our neighbors was like, look, Colette, you know, this guy, like, he hooks up with all the women in the neighborhood. What are you doing letting him come over? And my mom's like, oh, I didn't realize. So I thought it would be funny to write a song from the perspective of one of the women who did cheat with this guy. So that was the story that I came up with, was, you know, a woman's outside digging in the garden, and this, you know, handsome country gentleman comes around and, you know, sweeps her off her feet. She looks at her life and the things that disappoint her, and she doesn't feel guilty at all. You know, so definitely not about my mom, but it was inspired by that story.
Oh, that was awesome. So, what is your next song?
I'm going to play you guys a classic song by Blind Willie McTell. I've been on a huge Blind Willie kick this past month, just listening to his music. It's so beautiful and haunting. If you guys aren't familiar with Blind Willie McTell, he's a blues artist from Georgia. And he's just absolutely wonderful. When you hear his music, you'll never be the same. So please look him up. And this one is called Statesboro Blues. And it has become one of my most requested songs. So I'm gonna play it for you guys. And I hope you like it. I hope you go out and you download some Blind Willie McTell music, and I hope you rock out to it.
Awesome. Take it away, honey.
All right.
Oh, baby, left Savannah, logic did not stop you. Always seem to come and find me when you got the ballers hat. Wake up, mama. Give me my trailblazer shoes. But you know about that, I've got stands for blues. Now, uncle tell cousin, cousin tell your sister, sister tell brother, brother tell your auntie. We're going up the country, baby, don't you want to go? You know, I might take you, I might take one or two more. Still, Big 80 left Savannah, lots of denial. You always seem to come and find me when you got the ballers hot. Wake up, mama. Give me my trailblazer shoes. What you know about that? I've got them old Stansburg blues.
Awesome. You look like you have a lot of fun on stage.
I really do. I really, really do. I miss it.
Yeah, I can tell with the way you're just getting right into your music.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I haven't jumped on board with the live streams through this pandemic because I don't have internet at my house. So it's kind of tricky for me to get into town and find a place to set up and do it. So I haven't jumped on the live streaming bandwagon like a lot of my friends have. And it's funny because the two of you are the first people who I've played for other than, you know, my parents or my photographer or, you know, people who, my neighbors or whatever. I haven't played for anybody in so long. So it's like, I feel it's such a treat to play for like actual human beings. And I'm sure there's going to be like thousands of people out there because you guys have a big reach with your audience. So hi to all of you new people. Thank you and love me.
Well, you know, Heidi, you're so sweet. Who wouldn't love you? Really?
Oh.
I can understand why they don't like Pam, you know. Yes, Pam, I can understand.
Bad witch. I just think it's awesome. I feel like when we have artists on the show that we kind of get our own personal little you know, sets done for us, and I like, it's really great because I feel like we're the only person in the room, you and I, and you're playing for me personally. So I love the Zoom chats because it's just so personable.
Yeah, for sure.
And the music is wonderful. I like Nikki said, I am old. I'm from a different genre, but my family has embraced the blues. I have an uncle named for John Lee Hooker. So my grandmother was very much into blues. My uncle's name was John Lee.
Nice.
So it was like, when she said we were having blues on, it's like, oh my goodness. You know, I embrace some of it I don't like, but it's like growing up with my grandmother, you had to like John Lee Hooker. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, John Lee Hooker is one of those people who really surpasses genres. I mean, even if you've never listened to blues before in your life, you'll love John Lee Hooker. Like, you're not going to not love him. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And that's, you know, blues tradition is very much coming back again, I noticed, because I'm noticing a lot more blues artists out there. So I don't know if it's people going back to look at good music, you know, stuff that stood the test of time, and bring it up. When I say good music, there are some groups out there that, you know, you hear, and I guess I'm getting that old age hearing where you're like cringing and like, what did they say? But I see a lot of the blues coming back. I've noticed even around here in Tampa, a lot of the live shows that they have at Emily were a lot of blues-based groups. And I thought, wow, I mean, they're coming back because it's younger people that are singing the older songs and doing the older style. So I think it's a genre that is really coming back hard.
I think folk music in general is pretty cyclical, and I if we had more time, I would like tell you all about my theories of folk music, but I feel like blues is the genre of folk music that arises when people feel deep sorrow. And I think there's a lot of sorrow in our world right now. I know it looks on the outside like it's mostly anger. And I consider punk rock to be folk music. And I think there have been times when, you know, the anger overwhelms everybody, and so punk rock music becomes popular. But I think right now what we're seeing is people who have deep sorrow in their hearts. And blues is kind of that great equalizer that it makes you feel good. It allows you to express what you're feeling. And at the same time, it's uplifting. So even if you're venting negative emotions, you're doing it in a way that uplifts others. And I think that, you know, maybe that's why it's taken on popularity lately.
You know, that can be very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your next one? I know you got.
Oh, I'm gonna play you guys a song. I'm gonna play you another song that I wrote. And I think it's a good song for the pandemic because it deals with depression, and it deals with not being able to get up and get motivated. And I wrote this song when I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm a big advocate of therapy for people. I think that it's a wonderful thing to do for yourself. I think everyone should have an opportunity to go and be introspective about their lives. No one should ever be made to feel ashamed of it either. But this is a song that I wrote when I was dealing with that. And, you know, it was a healing process to write this song. So I really hope that you guys like it, and I hope that it means something to somebody else out there too. It's called Everything I Wanted. I am a stranger in the world where I live. I'm in danger. I'm crying again. It's been days since I showered. Went to the store. I had everything I wanted and more. I try to stay sober, but I'd rather drink gin when my sister comes over. I don't let her in. I can smell her compassion in the deadbolted door. I have everything I wanted and more. I don't trust it, but I'm trying again. I'm adjusting to beginnings and ends. Simple decisions, elegant dreams seem impossible. Equally, I fell asleep in the kitchen, gone with the wind. I have no ambition, so I know I can't win. There are ants on the table, crumbs on the floor. I have everything I wanted and more. I've got milk in my coffee, matches his skin on my silverware's dirty, so I stir with a can, wrapped in his sweater. Last thing he wore, I have everything I wanted more. I don't trust it, but I'm trying again. I'm adjusting to beginnings and ends. Simple decisions or elegant dreams seem impossible. Equally, I'm a stranger in the world where I live. I'm in danger. I'm crying again. I try to be grateful, but I don't know what for. I had everything I wanted and more. I don't trust
Awesome. Awesome. You know, the thing about it is I also suffer from that as
Yeah.
well. And so it's more common than what most people think it is. And it's how you deal with it. And yes, I do believe in going to therapy and learning different ways of being able to deal with it, because it's not something that, you know, there's not a cure for it.
Right.
So you, it's a disease. You have to learn what your triggers are,
Yeah.
what to do when you have your triggers, so you don't freak out, because that's the first thing we want to do is freak out. So we have to learn how to handle that. You know, what steps do we take to be able to deal with that? And yeah.
I encourage everyone I know to seek therapy. And I know when I first went, I was having horrible anxiety all the time. And I'm like, why am I like this? You know, what is wrong with me? So honestly, when I went to therapy, I was drug seeking. I'm like, I hope they give me something for, you know. And what ended up happening was I got an amazing therapist who did cognitive behavioral therapy on me, and she taught me what my triggers were. She taught me like why I was behaving the way I was, why it's okay to, like, you know, freak out sometimes, and how to stop doing it. So, you know, for me, I'm like the queen of drug seeking. I'm not gonna lie. I was at first disappointed, and then I was very, very much thankful that somebody took the time to sit with me and talk to me and not just medicate the problem away. So I was really lucky, and, you know, I'm glad. And you know, I try to talk about it as an artist because I know that I have a platform where the things that I say affect other people. So I want anybody who is suffering from a similar situation to know that there is no shame in seeking help. You know, there's no shame in drug seeking either. That's what I did. But if you have a problem, addressing the problem is infinitely better than pretending that the problem doesn't exist and just walking through life like a zombie feeling terrible all the time. We deserve better than to feel terrible all the time.
You know, it's funny you say that. I actually am a clinical psychologist.
Oh, nice.
I got my degree. So I think if we learn to treat mental health like we treat our physical health, if you're diabetic, you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get your insulin, or you're going to go to learn how to better control your diet, or, you know, exercise more. If you have a liver function, you're going to learn how to take care of that liver. But here you have a mental, which controls a lot of your body, and you're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
And other people are like, well, you're weak, and, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and don't be a crybaby. And it's like, sometimes, you know, your brain, you know what brains do. I don't. Mine was not a brain for a while, and I learned how to control it. So
many times it's actually a chemical imbalance in the brain.
yeah.
I have the science part of the psychology, and it is an imbalance. It's a chemical imbalance. Well, that's what diabetes is. That's what many times heart disease is. It's just a chemical imbalance.
Nobody calls you a baby if you need insulin. Nobody calls you like a wuss if you need, you know, heart medication.
Yeah, and especially now, this pandemic, unfortunately, has put everybody almost in a state of PTSD, and has caused depression and the suicide rate to, like, skyrocket. And there are counselors online. There are people you can still reach out to. The suicide hotline is open 24/7. I've worked it. So it's there. And it's hard now. It's great that some of the stars are coming out with relatives. Glenn Close's sister, you know, is bipolar, and you're hearing more about it. You're hearing about the stars going to therapy, and people with platforms saying, hey, you have an issue. Let's address the issue.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fix-it person. Let's fix it and then move on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really great thing. And that song was like, oh my goodness, I heard this song and I was like, oh my God, that is on some days how I feel.
Yes. Oh my gosh, same. And I, you know, it's really therapeutic to write those words down. And I feel like since I wrote the song, I felt much better. It's like I was able to release those emotions and kind of move on with my life. But, you know, I've experienced some of those same moments during the pandemic of just like not wanting to like do basic personal hygiene, you know, wanting to drink gin and tonics all day when I should be like going for a walk and doing something positive. So yeah.
It's kind of funny during this whole thing. We have the access to get online and talk to doctors and all, but we don't seem to be doing it. And it's something, we don't think of our mental health as a clearinghouse. It took years. I practiced my path much longer than I practiced the psychology, but in some of my early psychology classes, you know, we know as a witch, we have to keep that book of shadows. You write down daily in your journal what you're thinking, what's going on in your life. You know, we push that issue as teachers of Wicca and witchcraft. And now psychologists are going, you know what? Might be a good idea to write that down. I'm sitting here thinking every artist has either drawn it, wrote it down, somehow did this, and you're just now catching up.
Yeah, but you know, thank God they are. Thank God they are.
Yeah, journaling has become now a big thing in psychology. And I sit in my classes and I was going like, oh, Lord, do you know how long I've been journaling? One of the professors gave us the task to journal, and he was, you know, going through the motions, explaining it. And I like reach over and grab him a journal because I was online, and I'm like, I said, would you like to see one from 50 years ago? Because I can pull that out of the back room. And it's like, oh, you know, and I said, and then we got on the talk with artists. That is the easiest way to channel that depression, that energy, you know, just get it out, write songs. And that's why I think a lot of us gravitate towards certain songs. You listen to a genre of song when you're feeling a certain way.
Absolutely.
Feeling blue, you're going to put on either something blue to make you feel better, like a blues song, or you're going to put on one of those happy show tunes to make you feel happy. But either way, you're chemically altering your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thank the artists out there who are brave enough to write down those words, because I sure don't want anybody reading my journal. But for the artists who actually write down their feelings and tell us how they're feeling so that we can identify. And that's
I've started to get, like, my nickname is Little Miss TMI, because I tell all my business. Like, that's my job description. I'm on a stage, I'm an open book. Like, I try to be really honest with the things that I say. And somebody has to do it. You know, when I first started writing songs that were deeply personal, I remember thinking, like, younger Heidi would think, oh my gosh, everybody's going to think I'm crazy. Nobody feels this way, like, blah, blah, blah. And then you start writing these songs and people come up to you and they're like, wow, you really put into words exactly what I've always felt about this topic. And it's like, then all of a sudden I stopped feeling so lonely, and like I was experiencing things that no one else had ever experienced. It's like the human condition. But yeah, I'm totally an open book. So,
well, I give you a lot of credit, because that's a pretty ballsy thing to do, is to get up there and tell something like that. Like, I can't get up and get a shower today. It's just not a day where it's going to happen. And to openly say that to an audience, like, and the audience is like, whoa, you know, that's real. It's a real condition. It really happens.
Yeah. And instead of them being like, ew, that girl's gross, most of them are like, man, I've been there. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. It's really cathartic on both sides. And I wish more people would understand that, you know, I've had people say, oh, you know, I listen to this music, don't judge me. And it's like, no, listen to your music. You're judging it, you know, because you need it. There's days where literally it's got to be this artist, or I'm not going to make it today. You know, the bodies pile up after a while. So, but yeah, it's really a ballsy thing to do, and people don't think that when you guys write, you're putting your heart right there on your sleeve and letting us all hear it, and it touches us.
Good.
So with that's all for today. So Heidi, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, honey.
So much fun.
Yes, it was. And we got to do this again, don't we?
Yes.
I want to hear some more music. I'm not going to lie. I'm not, no shame here.
Send me your address and I'll mail you a CD to Florida.
Oh, no, I would buy your CD. I'm going to be on your site. Trust and believe. That's my thing. I will be on your site.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure that you visit HeidiHolton.com, and that's where you can find Miss Heidi, as well as Miss Facebook, can find her there as well. So thank you, Heidi. Continue to make a difference in yourself and in others, okay?
Definitely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so now it is time, Miss Pam. We are going to be doing the Witch's Cabinet, and it's Miss Pam's turn. So we're going to let Miss Pam take it away.
Well, welcome to this week's Witch's Cabinet. This week we're going to do something that's a little bit more fun, especially with the children, and even for yourself. This time of year it starts to get cold in different parts of the world, so while it's cold outside, you might want an inside activity. Now, everybody loves divination. It is the bomb. We witches are known for it, and in any form. So today we're going to look at runes. As you can see, there's the rune book, and on the front cover, it has the runes that are done with wood burning. Now, in my house, that's kind of not an option because my children somehow take after their mother, and they can manage to burn down the neighborhood. So rather than have, the fire department come in and upset their day, we paint ours. Now, you can purchase little tiny rocks. These I purchased at Walmart. They're pretty flat. You got a big bag for just a couple dollars. Or you can take the kids out on a scavenger hunt to find their own flat rocks. Just keep in mind that you want the rocks kind of similar, because when you draw on them and you put the symbols on them, you don't want to know what the symbol is because of the shape of the rock, especially if you're reaching in your bag to pull them out. Now, if you're going to use a dark colored rock, you're going to use a light colored paint. I like the washable paints. One, because they do wash off, so if you end up wearing more paint than you get on your rock, you can wash it off. And two, they are a lot cheaper. You can pick these up for almost $1 when they have them on sale. Again, hit the sales at Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart, online. Every once in a while, you'll see them go on sale for like 97 cents a bottle. And that's when you pick up a couple bottles just to have is in stock. Now, rather than use a brush, because at this point, these things are so small, a brush is going to be impossible to deal with, especially with smaller hands. I like to use, I have a stylus. This is great for doing, the mandalas. Or you can actually even use just an old ballpoint pen. Anything that comes down to a point and is going to stay a point. Your ballpoint pens have that point on there already. You want something small. When you go to do them, make sure you got a color that's not going to blend in. Like I said, you want something bright. And you just put your colors on here. Now, when you're doing them, you are putting the intent of whatever symbol that you're doing onto the artwork. So you are adding extra onto it. The question I get asked a lot is, how do you keep the color on them? And the easiest way to do that is once they're 100% dry, overnight, 2 nights, make sure they're dry. You can take clear nail polish and you can brush over them, or you can spray them with a high gloss polish. I'm not a fan of sprays because you waste so much because these are so small. If you use the polish, you just go right over what you've done. If you're good, you can use nail polish if you get like a silver or some color that is opposite the color you're working with, and you can use that. The other great thing is if you make a mistake and you don't like what you've done, it's nothing more than a wet sponge and a little bit of push, and it's clean. And you can start again. And this is really great when you're working with children because they don't feel like they're confined to making, oh, I didn't make that right. Can I do it again? Of course you can. Now, as you're doing the runes, you are working on intent. You are working on each one of the runes with intent. So you're adding all that energy into it. It's a lot of fun. I'm not sure if you can see these really clear, but I'm going to try and hold one up here. That's one I've made. It's drying. Once it's completely dry, I will put like a nice little shade on it. Now, what's really fun is you can buy these little origami bags. You can pick these up, usually, believe it or not, Oriental Trading Company. You can get them fairly inexpensively, and you can have your little bag of teaching children divination, explaining it to them, going over in the book, and even learning it for yourself. It's a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. Once they're all done, display them. You have your own little divination. You can get the different meanings of the runes offline, so you can actually print it out at home. You can purchase the book if you want to, or if you're like me, I have many books, so my thing is to purchase the books. Now, I know that if you go with the bigger rocks, this was actually Apache tears, but you can see they're not much bigger than the rocks I'm dealing with. And I won't tell you what I paid. It was a gift, so it wasn't. So have fun with them. Work with your kids. Show them, explain this to them. Many times we forget as pagans to teach our children some of our ways and wonder why they don't understand when we do things. This is a great way to sit around, have a lot of fun, make your own runes, and just enjoy a cold winter's afternoon. And with that, we're going to go back and have a great time. But again, guys, I really want to see those crafts. It is pretty awesome when we get to share in the joy that you've had in making a craft. Keeping it real. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Pam teaching us how to make runes. Yay, Pam.
On a budget. Cheap witch again. I'm finding a lot of people are asking for that kind of thing and keeping it the cost down, because with this COVID, hours are cut back at work. Some people have not working. They're totally on unemployment, and there's a lot of stuff going around, but something simple just to keep you guys occupied. And now that you have the children home more, because a lot of the schools are doing the hybrid thing where you have your child home at more, and we all know if you don't entertain your child, they'll entertain themselves. And it's always better to have a handle on that, because I know my kids had interesting ways of entertaining themselves. So I'm trying to give you guys ideas to keep them busy, as well as just passing along the craft to them. I know my kids would love to do that kind of stuff, because it was a fun thing to do on an afternoon. And it was a way of actually going over, this is divination, this is what we do with them, and just introducing them to the different things in Wicca and witchcraft. And I raised my kids pagan. They understand how things work. So for them, it was a lot of fun, because it was a new skill they learned, and I had two of them at home at the time, so they would, try and do divination for each other. So it was a fun learning process with them. But I do find that if we don't teach our kids, again, somebody else will. And you don't know what they're filling their head with.
That's very true. They will. Well, and so that is our show. Oh.
But who do we have next week, Nikki? Come on.
We have Matt, and I may not pronounce his last name right. Uryn? Auryn. He's the one that is the author of The Psychic Witch. So he will be joining us next week. So in the between times, make sure you go to our website and check out our auctions. Like I said, it's a list that basically Pam and we selected a lot of different very good items for you, as well as some readings. And that's the best way to interview Pam is to get a reading from her. You can really ask her personal questions about herself.
And be in therapy for the next 20 years when I give you the answer.
Now remember, she's not very good in customer service. So.
Yeah, I have a complaint department. It's 1-800-GO-TO. Have a great day.
All right, so everybody stay safe.
And
Thank
don't
you so
forget,
much.
look on our webpage, not just for the auction, but for our upcoming host our guest hosts so that you can really make sure you tune in to see who you want to see. And again, guys, thank you for showing up and check us out.
All right, and continue to be safe and wear your mask, and make sure that you continue to make a difference in your life and the life of others. And with that, Miss Pam, we are going to go and do the end credits. So thank you and have an absolute fabulous day.